In 2001, a man in Germany posted an ad online, looking for someone who wanted to be killed and eaten. Someone answered. In March of 2001, in the quiet German town of Rothenburg-on-der-Fulde, a crime took place that would shock not only Germany, but the entire world. It was not a random act of violence. It was not a kidnapping. It was not a crime driven by rage. It was planned, agreed upon, and recorded. At the center of it all was a man named Armin Meiwes. Born in 1961, Meiwes grew up in a fractured home. His father left when he was young, and he was raised by a strict, emotionally dominant mother. He was described as shy, isolated, and withdrawn. As a child, he created imaginary friends, companions who would never leave him. Over time, those fantasies evolved. As he entered adulthood, Meiwes developed a disturbing obsession, a desire for complete control, and an extreme fantasy centered around consuming another human being. Not out of hatred, not out of anger, but out of a twisted belief that it would create permanent connection. For years, it remained fantasy. Then the internet changed everything. In the late 1990s, obscure online forums began appearing, hidden spaces where people discussed extreme fantasies anonymously. Meiwes found one of those communities, and in 2001, he posted a message. He was looking for a man between 18 and 30 years old, physically strong, willing to be slaughtered and eaten. It sounds impossible, unreal, but someone answered. His name was Bernd Brandis, a 43-year-old engineer from Berlin. Unlike a typical victim, Brandis was not forced. He willingly traveled to Meiwes' isolated farmhouse in Rothenburg. The two had communicated for months. They discussed details, they set expectations, they agreed. In March 2001, Brandis arrived at the house. What followed was filmed on video. The footage, later recovered by police, showed long conversations, calm discussions, even moments that appeared disturbingly ordinary. The two men signed a document acknowledging consent. Hours passed. Eventually, Meiwes killed Brandis. Over time, he dismembered the body and stored parts of it in a freezer. According to court records, portions were later consumed. For nearly a year, no one knew. Life in Rothenburg continued quietly. Neighbors had no idea what had happened behind the walls of the farmhouse. Then in late 2002, Meiwes posted another online advertisement. This time, someone who saw it was alarmed. The user contacted authorities. German police began investigating. At first, they struggled to believe the claims. But when they searched Meiwes' home, they found videotapes, digital evidence, and human remains. News of the arrest spread rapidly across Germany. The story dominated headlines. International media arrived in Rothenburg. The farmhouse became a symbol of something deeply unsettling, not just violence, but the role of the internet in connecting dangerous desires. In 2004, Armin Meiwes went on trial. His defense made a controversial argument. The victim had consented. They argued that Brandis had willingly participated and that the act, while horrific, was not traditional murder. Prosecutors disagreed. They argued that consent does not make killing legal, that a person cannot authorize their own death in this way. The first trial ended with a conviction for manslaughter. Meiwes was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. Public reaction was immediate and intense. Many believed the sentence was too light for the brutality involved. The case returned to court in 2006. This time, the prosecution pushed for murder charges, arguing that Meiwes acted for sexual gratification and had carefully planned the act. The court agreed. Armin Meiwes was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The case forced Germany to confront difficult legal and ethical questions. Can someone legally consent to being killed? Where does personal autonomy end? What responsibility do online communities have in facilitating extreme behavior? German law ultimately made it clear: consent does not justify homicide. Today, Meiwes remains in prison in Germany. Psychologists who studied him described him as intelligent, cooperative, and aware of his actions. He later claimed remorse, stating he wished to discourage others from following similar fantasies. But the case continues to disturb people across Europe, not because of the number of victims, there was only one, but because of the nature of the crime. It shattered assumptions about victimhood, it exposed the hidden corners of the early internet, and it forced society to confront a terrifying reality, that sometimes the most shocking crimes are not committed in anger, but in agreement. The farmhouse in Rothenburg still stands, quiet, ordinary, unremarkable, a reminder that behind normal doors, unimaginable things can happen, and that in the digital age, even the darkest fantasies can find an answer.